Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Yet another episode of Talking Shit with Siddharth Jodev.
Hi, I'm Kai Chalmers.
You're just supposed to say Kai Chalmers.
I know, but
So far, we've had some really fun, good conversation.
We have.
Unfortunately, we are also reaching the end of a season.
Oh, we
so
are.
this is our eighth episode.
it's coming to an end. I wasn't told this.
Yay!
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean, this is our eighth episode. We have released 7 episodes so far.
Yeah, thank
And
you
it's
for
all
tuning
been
in,
such
guys.
great conversation with some really great fun people. And today is going to be yet another fun but very important episode. Let me tell you, just give you a bit of background on why
Yeah.
I am so passionate about this particular episode.
Yes, you were really passionate about it.
Just a couple of months ago, like a year ago, I had a nephew.
Okay, yeah.
My cousin sister gave birth, and suddenly the kid is growing up. The baby boy is growing up, and you know,
boy.
of course, when there's a new member in the family, everybody goes, especially a child, right? Today, everybody is like, oh, the child is not speaking. There's a delay in speech. The child is not reacting. The child is not picking up something.
Yeah.
The child is not reacting to you calling, and the boy is like hitting 2 or 3 years old now. Then everybody's sort of worried of. Does he have ADHD, or is he autistic, or does he have anything that we should consult the doctors for? And and the worst part is not the the parents, us, people around. Nobody has any idea
No.
about anything that has to do with neurodivergent.
Yeah.
You know?
It's really funny you bring that up because for some reason, I just remembered this. My brother sent my brother in the United States, because I have an elder brother living there, and he is a kid who's about 10 years old. And him and his wife have been going through a horrible time because I think they just realized their kid is autistic or is on the spectrum, and they don't know how to really handle it. And for some reason, it's really gotten to a point where like they've been taking her to seek therapy. She's on meds, and it's just like all these things compounding. And it just, for me, I was like, oh, I didn't realize my niece had all this stuff. And now I'm only hearing it for the first time now. So it's like, wow, where did this come from? And how do you navigate that?
Yeah,
for
and
kids?
the scary part is like you decided to be parents, right? And then you're so ready about the financial base. You're ready about, oh my God, then I have to save money for the kids. You're ready about responsibilities, or I have to take care of the kids, so you have to stay at home. You speak about a lot of these things, right?
Yeah.
But you're never ready about
when it actually comes.
when it actually comes, and you never really think about what if my kid comes out and my kid has ADHD. What am I going to do about it? You never think about that. It's only when you're there with the problem, then you're like, okay, let me do something about it.
Yeah.
But then at that point, it becomes a bit overwhelming because now you have a child and you are learning and relearning that. I think one of the reasons is that not in our education system or not in our social setting, we actually talk about these things.
No.
Hardly.
Hardly.
We don't educate people. We don't talk about it. There's a huge difference between what we consider as normal people and abnormal people.
I think the only thing that actually happens is people mention, oh, there are people with special needs, and then
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
And then that's it. And you're like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So that's what people. So people just put this two label, or if you're normal or you're OKU or your special needs. There's only two things to it. So which is why we want to really speak about this episode, about this being neurodivergent, and which is why we have brought two really special guests to our episode today. We have Ching and Sharanya joining us today in this episode. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thanks so
guys.
much for coming on board, guys.
Now, I will. Okay, now let me just give you a bit of disclaimer. I am coming into this episode not knowing much or close to nothing about it, because I'm very ignorant. I'll agree to that. Lack of education, lack of awareness about this issue, which is why we want you guys to tell us what is it and how is it, and if at all we are making any remarks or anything that is not in line with what you think it should be the case, do let us know.
I might as well be a potato at this point in time. So we want to really hear what your experiences are like. So
Yeah, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah,
and,
please.
and please let us know what is your experience with being neurodivergent.
Hi everyone, I'm Sharanya. I am the director, founder of Hush the Theatre. Hush the Theatre is an inclusive theatre space for children age 4 all the way to adulthood. So it's truly inclusive, I would say. It's doing well in that area. We're also a theatre space for performances. Even Sid, you've rehearsed at Hush
Yeah.
before, so we're also a rehearsal space. And we have shows there as well. In terms of my teaching journey, I've been teaching children, neurodivergent children, since I was 21. So that would be, I'm 34 now, that's 12 years, 12 years doing it. And I also did a postgraduate degree in special education. And about you said something earlier, Ching and I had a short discussion about it.
Ooh,
so
let
about
us
the
know.
term,
Oh no. What do we do? What have we done? No, please do tell us.
Ching was asking me, how do you feel about that term special needs? And I was telling Ching that actually it is special educational needs. So it's actually what you need in terms of education. So it's not actually a way to describe a group of people. So you can't say really this person is special needs. It's this child requires special educational needs.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. No, thank you for telling us, because I mean, when I was growing up,
Yeah.
that's how they addressed
Yeah.
put those people in the camp.
Yeah.
Kids with special needs.
Absolutely.
So thank you for clarifying that, because I otherwise I wouldn't have any idea.
Yeah.
So it's special educational
Needs.
needs.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
Special needs is also another euphemism. People just are uncomfortable or don't want to say disabled children or neurodevelopmental disability, or intellectual disability,
So I'm just wondering,
Go for it.
is there a specific term, an umbrella term that you can use, or you think that shouldn't be the case? It has to be people by people or case by case label to it.
I feel personally in Malaysia, a neurodivergent is a better term. But in Malaysia, a lot of things are encompassed under the special needs category. So that includes people with bipolar, those with depression. So they throw all of that into the same category. So
They do.
Yeah, I feel a better way would be to describe it per, autism or Down syndrome or...
Okay, so address the specific thing this person is dealing with. Okay, got
But
you.
neurodivergent is actually a socio-political term. I mean, it can be identity for someone, but it's usually used as a socio-political term to support the neurodiversity movement or paradigm or
It's pretty new term as well. By
Judy
Singer.
Singer. But then apparently she's also controversial.
Yes.
Yes.
Where were we?
La, la,
We
la,
were
la.
at introduction. So this is
Yes.
something that happens with me as well. I'm very sorry. I will
No.
jump from one thing to another to
No,
another.
no.
All good. It's all good.
That's our conversation supposed
It's all
to be.
good,
It's
yes.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've introduced maybe.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ching.
right. I have not introduced
Yep.
Pookie. Oh.
It's all good.
So my name is Ching. I don't know where to look. Here. Okay. My name is, I look at you all, huh?
Yeah, I
My
can.
name is Ching. I'm a theatre maker. I wrote this down. Where am I? Who am I?
Oh no, your identity is
We'll
gone.
give you A for effort.
Nah, it's all good.
So
It's all
my name
good.
is Ching. I'm a theatre maker and I'm a dance movement therapist with my accreditation in progress. So as you know, you may have heard sounds. Those are not pre-recorded. So I'm neurodivergent and disabled. I live with Tourette syndrome and many other co-occurring conditions like ADHD, anxiety, and OCD, blah, 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 blah. And I am aware that because there are some questions about autism. So I just want to preface and say that, however, I do not identify as autistic, even though I do have autistic traits overlapping lah. Because all this is bunched up together. And so I hope to be mindful not to be speaking for the autistic community or their experiences. So my role here is just to share what I have observed and practiced in my work, and not to represent the community, but to contribute to, I guess, this dialogue that centers and respect the
Right.
voices of lived experiences. Yeah.
Right.
I share the same sentiments as well. And I forgot to mention, I myself have ADHD. So I do work a lot with children who have autism, ADHD, those with Down syndrome. And I also will not speak on their
Yeah,
behalf.
yeah. So today whatever we are getting from you is your personal experience. Which I think that's how it should be. I don't think so. We should be speaking for anybody else. When did you realize that this is you're neurodivergent and this is what you're going to be dealing with for the rest of your life?
Well, I my symptoms of my tics came when I was about 8. So usually the onset is about 6 to 10. I didn't know what was going on. Nobody knew. It was like, oh, she's got a habit, and we got to school her out of it. But yeah, nothing happened. So I was formally diagnosed with Tourette's at 14. Yeah, blah, 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 school. I guess I took a workshop in KAYPOH, Joe Sasham's class actually, the 10-week program. And I'm like, hey, when I'm like acting or doing things or moving, or like my tics like don't really come, like I get into this flow state. So I only experience that when in school, like when I have to tahan or my tics, or like just very uncomfortable with sensory issues, I doodle, and that helps me relieve my tics a bit. So manage my tics. So when I draw or paint, there's like my tics. And so it's like something to do with the creative flow. Then it sort of silent me a bit more.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So then I'm like, oh, this thing is amazing. So then I started going into it a bit more. Yeah.
So you mean to say like every time you are performing, you don't tick?
Yes, but then also recent journey of dismantling my internalized ableism that made me realize that, I think throughout my theater experience, I have been like, I let it go, and then like, okay, tahan, and then go on stage, like woof. But then it's sort of actually takes away part of me that makes me me. So now I'm realizing that after dismantling this ableism that I had of myself, it's like, what if I can just go on stage and whatever, my character can just have Tourette's, right? Because I'm playing it. And then just go into that flow, and then my tics still would disappear. Because once so there's a difference. I don't know whether you, understand it.
Yeah.
Just being me and letting me go and allowing myself to go into the flow versus shut the fuck up and let's go.
No, okay, no, I see it. I think you also mentioned something about you were doing this dance. Was it this
Dance movement therapy.
dance movement
Yeah.
therapy? Is that something that has been helping you, or is it?
Yes, actually. So over the pandemic, I took up a diploma, a course from New Zealand, dance movement therapy, to be a dance movement therapist. So it has helped me, the training itself to be a therapist has helped me be more in my body. And so helping me understand what are these senses that are going on, sensations in my body, that what are they speaking to me about? Yeah.
You would say it's helped you tremendously and has helped you on your journey.
So before this, I used to feel like I need to compensate myself. Like I feel like I need to overcome my tics, right? Before going on stage. Yeah. So my entire life, I felt that I need to prove myself, to align myself to the standards of what neurotypical neuronormativity is. So I would need to prove myself and work twice as hard, that I will neglect my accommodations, my needs. And so I was falling sick all the time. Yeah, especially after projects. And so then I somehow, this is not the way I should be doing my life. Yeah, so I have to listen to my body and my pace as a disabled person, because our pacings are different, and it's very anti-capitalistic. Yes. So I started listening to that a bit more, my body, yeah. You feel the same?
I think that Ching made a good point about accommodations, because that's actually what both of us have on our laps right now is our accommodation. I think for me in particular, having my notes in front of me, even during an interview, I used to feel a lot of shame doing that, because I'm not trying to, people may think I'm
You're
not
like,
able to speak
Yeah.
off the cuff, but it's an accommodation for me because I have a tendency to talk nonstop or like go in circles, or so the notes kind of keep me in line a little bit. And I think, Ching, you have some
For me,
accommodations.
it's for my executive function, because that disrupts my speech a bit. It's like, like you probably saw that stuff going on. It's like, oh my God, where am I? Yeah, or like can't find my words. Yeah.
No, I'm also wondering, growing up in Asian household, right? What was the first, do you all remember what was the first reaction like at home? Because at least I know, for a fact that in Malaysian household, there's this, suddenly when you're neurodivergent and all, there's a lot of denial from the parents and family and relative. They wouldn't want to believe it. They'll be like, oh no, you're just overacting. You're just like, this is nothing. It's all in your head. They'll try to get it out of you. You will never be taken to diagnose right away, or to even sit and talk about it. They won't even sit and talk about it. So do you remember how was that reaction within your family or friend circle like?
So I was actually diagnosed pretty late. I'm 34, so I was diagnosed when I was 32, so just 2 years ago. So really, really, for me, when I got the diagnosis, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, because it makes sense. It's something that made a lot of sense to me.
You're finally able to connect the dots.
Yes, connect the dots. Everything made sense. After getting the diagnosis, I realized that it's quite prevalent in my family. And it's a lot of family members of mine. I feel, of course, I'm in no position to diagnose, but I feel like, okay, I think you do have it. So my mom, because of the age, because I was 32, I feel she was more accepting of it than if I were to maybe have it at 4 years old.
Right.
I feel
Right.
that was quite different. So for me, it was quite okay in terms of trying to explain to them. And I'm older as well, so I do a lot more research. I read up about it. I share that information with her. And I think she's older as well. So, taking in that.
There's also the idea that you're old now to know yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it was me who went in and me who went to therapy myself. And it wasn't, she didn't have to bring me in for that. And so I think it's different when you're older. But I didn't have that experience, Ching. I don't know if you did.
But can I ask, how was it like growing up? Because
Yes,
not
it
knowing
was
for
bad.
you. Yeah.
It was
Like, how bad are we talking about?
I had, so there's a lot of misconceptions with ADHD. A lot of people think they have it. But I think the real suffering for me was the up and down. So the up is real high. And then the lows are really, really low. And I remember as a kid having multiple hobbies, liking so many different things, but then just giving up halfway. So as a child, right? So as a kid, I would like be obsessed with painting. I'd get my mom to spend tons of money on like paintbrushes and all the cool stuff and the newest thing at that time. I'd spend 2 days on it, and then that's it. It'll find a box somewhere in my house.
Okay.
Then it would be on to the next. You can ask me the amount of hobbies I've had as a child. I've tried to learn the ukulele. I failed at that. I tried to learn the drums. I have painted, thought I was going to be, an artist. So I've painted. I learned the guitar. So many different things. Piano as well. So piano, I nearly reached grade 8 and then I just stopped. So I'm actually grade 7 in piano, but I could never push myself to do grade 8. So
Which one would you think is your mom the most mad at?
The piano.
The piano one? Oh, all that.
Is it because a lot of money went in?
Yes, a lot of money.
You have to pay for the examinations and then
That's
play
right.
the classes, and then it's like, Because grade 8 is like the grail, right? Like every Asian family is like, get to grade 8 and then whatever.
That's it.
So,
exactly.
I can imagine.
Oh.
So I think
All that money and didn't get a grade 8, Sharanya.
oh no, that sounds too familiar to me.
Oh.
Grade 4.
Multiple different strange, loving so many different things. And my dad actually used to call me the jack of all trades and the master of nothing.
Hey,
The
he didn't
master of
finish.
none.
He didn't finish.
the sentence. So he would always say, like, you're such a jack of all trades, you can do everything. And then he'd say, you can film, you can hold a camera. And he used to play all these, he's an engineer. So he used to get me to build things with him. Then he said, I'll be an engineer and I'll be a builder and this and that. And none of it ever stuck. So he'd call me the jack of all trades, master of none. What's the end of the...
Yeah, what's the end? Do you know the end?
Jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than master of one.
Close.
Not bad, not bad.
But can I just commend you because like you have this multifocal and then now you were running Hush Theatre like, I don't know, by yourself?
Yes.
Yes, and you have all these other like, design this and then organize this program, find funding. So you have all this... Yeah.
Yeah, the hobbies tend to come back somehow.
Somehow
Yeah.
it comes back, and it's actually Ching is right. It's easier to manage then because there's multiple things happening at the same time. Though it's difficult for my ADHD, it actually makes a lot of sense. So I can go from invoicing. When I get bored of that, I go to designing a poster. When I get bored of that, I go to something else.
So it's like, I'll do this and I'm not feeling this. I'll get to 60% and then I'll have that. But I can come back to
I
that,
can
right?
come back to that. Yeah.
You are the reason why people want to hire one person and they want to do everything.
Everything. Yeah.
Because you're going to do it.
We hate you.
And they don't pay us enough. Because Sharanya can do it.
I'm
I
just-
cannot do it.
I can just imagine like Sharanya's doing her thing and the mom comes in with the grade 8 like music like, are you ready to maybe
finally.
finish?
Ching, sorry,
Yeah.
we were talking about at home. What was the experience like when they found out?
At first I thought I was possessed.
No, this is your thought.
That's my
Okay.
thought.
Oh damn.
Like, really? Am I? But that's what I thought when I was a young kid. Then I'm like, then what's happening to me? Then I think one of my first few tics was just me jerking. And then teachers I remember the teacher commented, "Are you trying to be taller?" And I'm like, huh?
I'm sorry, teacher. What the fuck is this? What do you mean? Why would she do that? She'll hang up a bar or
What
something.
a, what
she'll be
a
taller.
weird thing for a teacher to say, right?
And then, yeah. Can we hold it together? Okay. And then one of the first few vocal tics was like, sounded like a kambing as I was telling. So I was called kambing ala baru. Because it was the millennium year, like the 2000s. So it was, one of my tics were, like that lah, yeah. But my mom thinks I was calling her lah. But anyhow, they all thought it was a habit, like a naughty kid. Yeah. So because they think I was doing that as a naughty or habit, so naturally, the teachers also felt that way because there was no one to advocate for me. Yeah, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. So I was very confused. And I didn't really have a great childhood because I got scolded a lot and got caned and like, and teachers put me at the front and blah, 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 things like that lah. Yeah. So until I was diagnosed, I got a diagnosis and then instead of feeling relief, I got really angry actually.
You got really angry.
Yeah, because it's like, what the hell? It's like for 6 years. Yeah.
So when was this
enough.
whole diagnosis came in? Like, was it much later?
Much later, 14. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 14.
Oh, and it's initiated by your
But
family.
things still went the way it was. Like it took some time for people to accept and understand and change their actions. So that took a while for me to also adapt to, yeah. So, but teachers were still a bit not very supportive. Not all of them, yeah.
What would you say was the most, like, in that time, not knowing what you had and whatnot? And upon discovering that you had it before you've gotten to this stage, what was the most helpful thing back then for both of you, actually? Because obviously, like, growing as a kid, you don't know this stuff. You know, parents also, I think now parents are more equipped with more knowledge and more access to information. But back then, it's like, what do you do? But what was something that helped you immediately, sort of, after discovering you had what you had?
I think for me, it was just the, oh my God, it makes sense. It makes so much sense. All of it. When I read up about it, I was like, oh my God, yes, okay, this is all. And I feel like it's finally knowing who you are. I feel like prior to this, you're being told the things you're doing are not correct, or you're this way, or like my dad says, the jack of all trades. And then I used to start describing myself as that as well to people. I'd be like, yeah, I'm good at a lot of things, but not great at any of them. So it was very nice. I feel like in a way it was a prize to get that diagnosis and be like, actually, a lot of those things were not my fault, and a lot of those things were not in my control as well. So I think it's removing a sense of guilt.
I think it's also I maybe because you were not in agony or in pain, and you were not in shame with whatever was happening. You just wanted an explanation for things to make sense.
Yes.
I
I'm
guess.
sure there was shame, right?
There
On
was
yourself.
shame
Because like
for-
people, adults to tell you that you are not right or you're not doing correctly all the time.
I think like same as Ching's example in terms of schooling, like I still remember this. And the thing is, I remember these things so clearly because it was just so ridiculous. But I remember a teacher of mine, because I couldn't quite focus on what was happening. So I used to do very badly in school. And the teacher would say to me, "Girla, you look so smart, you look smart.
Oh,
You
gosh.
look smart. What happened, huh? You look..." So I had this idea also that I was just not good in school. I was just not, able to perform like other kids. So yeah, definitely a sense of shame and, oh, I'm not, as good as everyone else is. How come everyone else gets to do well and I can't really do it? I don't have the tools. And I think that kind of, Ching, I'm not going to speak for you, but I kind of think you feel the same way. But I think that's why we became educators as well. Because for me,
Yeah, I think so.
for me anyway.
No, but I just want to take this moment and say some of school teachers are bitches.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
I think because
a
we have this
lot.
idea just because they're teaching,
You trying to
they
be
must
taller?
be great.
Sorry. Just like, wow.
Sometimes-
I didn't think that was a thing until
Yeah.
I'm sharing it here. Like, oh,
No, some of them are teachers, educators, but they speak absolute nonsense. And sometimes they'll be having a 40-year-old teacher will be having beef with a 14-year-old. I'm like, dude, what the fuck is your problem? Fuck off. So some of Malaysian teachers, I wouldn't know how is it in international school because I've never been to one or schools out of Malaysia. But I think I've transferred to multiple schools, and in all my experience, some teachers are really bitches.
Like, are they
You know?
that bad though? Because
Some they are. If you take some and you can put them on the scale, some can really get to the extreme. They're really bad. It's just that I guess it's also because the teachers, right? Our school teachers are trained or they've been given education how to teach kids. But then the moment you have a kid with a neurodivergent kid in the classroom, they wouldn't know how to react. Immediately they'll say, "Oh, take this kid to a special needs school." They wouldn't
or
want to
special class.
Yeah,
or
special. No,
something.
they wouldn't even put it in a class. They'll actually ask you to transfer school.
Oh.
I remember that there was this thing that was happening because this is my friend's brother, and he was diagnosed with ADHD. And he was doing the Sekolah Harian Biasa, which is the regular school. And then the moment the teacher realized that this guy is diagnosed with ADHD, and they were all campaigning to take him out of the school because they just want they want it to stop for them. They're like, "No, we can't handle this kid. Take him out." But I don't think he was badly behaving kid in any way.
That can severely impact the child.
Yeah, I think if like on a if you're looking on a scale, he's not like extreme in that sense. Like you can see some traits of ADHD, but they just want to get him out of the school because A, they have no idea how to deal with it, and B, they don't want to deal with it. They're like, "I'm only going to do work with the normal kids." Yeah, some of the Malaysian teachers can be bitches. I'm looking at all of you from high school.
So it's
There
coming.
was
So it's
a-
coming for you.
oh. There was
Yeah.
a teacher who didn't want to teach my class because I was in it. Yeah.
Oh, this was when you were in school, high school.
Yeah, high school, secondary school.
Which is what she or he just told
Sorry,
you.
what's her name?
She's probably
But
dead.
she's
Sid. No, I'm
a
kidding.
lot of people's favorite teacher.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so I was like, that speaks. I don't know.
Volumes.
Yeah.
Did she say, was there any specific reason why she didn't want to teach?
Because she just, I don't know. She told one of my friend, which is odd. Like, why you tell my friend from another class? Like, oh.
Why'd you confide in a kid? It's kind of weird.
No, because she sits in front, I guess, when she was teaching. Yeah,
Okay.
something about that. Yeah.
Well,
So that inspired. I mean, did that inspire you to become an educator? No,
No, not her.
not her, obviously, but
No.
but
we're not going to give you the credit. Shut the fuck up.
what Sid said. But interestingly, you found yourselves in roles as educators. Obviously, in you as a dance movement therapist, and you what? How do you
Drama therapy.
drama therapy?
Yeah.
What does that entail?
So it's something I learned in university, drama therapy as a subject, and I had to work with children who are autistic. Basically, it's because the subject drama theater is very accessible. It can be accessible to any group. I think even Ching can vouch for this, but theater itself can be accessible to anyone. It can be changed to suit someone, for example.
Sure.
And that is what is so great about the subject. So I think that's more in tune with drama therapy. It's making theater, the subject, accessible to those who need how to change it to suit.
Change.
Yeah, to suit someone.
Do we have a lot of those here?
It's a very obviously very small. Nobody does it. Nobody
Yeah.
wants the problem is because in Malaysia they don't offer it as a subject to learn. So there's not a university in Malaysia that offers drama therapy. So if anyone wanted to learn it, it would be overseas, online, etc. Yeah. So that's the whole difficulty about it. So there's not a lot of us. And I think even the same with movement therapy, dance therapy, there's not a lot. Do you know anyone?
There was one who I then interned with, but online. She couldn't get jobs here, so she moved back to the UK.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sad.
Because you hear things like about speech therapy, for example, but that I think applies to a lot of all kinds of people for whatever reasons who've overworked their voice. Because people, they don't pay attention to the voice and whatnot. So when it goes, then they're like, help me get my voice back. So, but I can understand like specifically helping kids or people with what they have and creating a safe space for them and having them discover or
Right.
work through. Not work through. Sorry, I'm a potato here, so I'm trying to learn and stumble my way through. But I'm learning a lot from you guys, and it's really heartening to hear that we have such people like you guys doing what you're doing to help others as well. Because the reason why I say I'm a potato in this aspect is, growing up, I think we were discussing it earlier. We have people, or we just mentioned it early on. We have people who, you go to school and then you have the kid who has special needs or gets put into a class, and then you don't really know much about them.
Yeah.
Because the school, the thing is, kids can be really cruel as well, which, I'm perfect. Even to someone who does, I don't have anything that I'm aware of. Kids are cruel, so I can only imagine to anyone else what that could possibly look like.
But you know what's worse about that? Sometimes even in a family, right? If there's someone who is like neurodivergent, right? Even within the family circle, they don't speak about it enough for everybody to know about what's going on. And that's terrible, because then you have this. So imagine growing up in a house where there's like so many cousins, there's like 20 of y'all, and there's this one kid who is ADHD, for example. The parents don't make the effort to educate everyone in the family on a very basic level, at least, what the child is going through. To the point that none of the cousins understand, because of course we're all kids, right? We're all growing up. We have no idea. Then you like it or not, you isolate the kid, not by choice, but just because you don't know how to handle it. I think even today, it's a thing where a lot of I wouldn't know if it's a thing for Western family. For a lot of the Asian family, you don't, even if there's I think people might think they wanna protect your face by not talking about it, because the moment
It's
you speak
definitely
about
a face thing. So
yeah, the
for
moment you
sure.
talk about it, then you're like inviting trouble or shame to your own family. So you rather not talk about your child who's ADHD, then just isolate the kid, and you just keep the kid next to you all the time. You don't let your kids to play around or mix with the other kids because you're scared.
Well, here's the question: like, do you think in recent years, the general public and Malaysian society has been more accepting to the community in terms of? And I know you can't speak for the community, but in your experience, is there more awareness? And even with that awareness, are things improving or getting better?
I can speak in terms of inclusivity. So it actually was stated by MOE that Malaysian education system would be completely or truly fully inclusive, by the year 2024. And that's the year we're in right now, and it's nowhere near that.
Nowhere near that.
So they actually
Sorry, when was this
predicted-
made?
this was predicted about 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And they said that it would be truly. Have you read this thing, the article? You might have come across it, but it was stated that we be truly inclusive. So I guess it is difficult to reach that awareness very quickly, and it is difficult to make something or a place inclusive quickly. So it does take a lot of time. I don't really think we're quite there yet at all.
But have things slowly improved?
Yes. Ching, what do you think?
On that note, actually yesterday I was at I don't know what you call it. I don't usually go to these places. The bar council.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
for
okay.
a forum. Where the forum speaks on needing to add the disability word in the federal constitution. For
Oh.
Article 8 and 12, I believe. I can't tell you details. You can Google it now. And
Okay.
yeah, because I think it says, I mean, the constitution says that no one should be discriminated based on race,
Gender, etc.
Yeah.
But
But disabilities has
Disability.
not in. Yeah, but gender was recently added apparently. Yeah, but I'm not. Yeah, I attended it, and yeah, just wanted to share that. What's going on?
No, it's
Yeah.
fair. Like, I mean, this is a little bit on a different side note, but recently there's been a lot of like there's been an increase in like media stories focusing particularly on the deaf blind community, especially with the drivers who've been
Oh yeah.
physically like harmed and stuff. And before, you probably wouldn't hear much about it.
Yeah.
I think I can't speak on that community, but it occurs to me in my experience that there's more awareness placed on the deaf blind community or the deaf mute, especially like when you take for example, when you take a Grab ride now, right? They will say like, "Oh, your driver is this," and they're perfectly normal. They can, even though you don't do sign language or anything, you can still interact and understand kind of generally what's happening. But with the altercations and stuff, and them actually being represented and having a bit of light shown on it to get some justice, I think that's some improvement. But that's on one, like you said, you can't just umbrellify everybody. There's these different things that that different communities face and are struggling with.
It's interesting. I don't know if Ching's going to agree with me on this, but it's also a matter of, I think the issue also lies with not just people being not aware enough, but also being too aware. So it almost is like a cool thing to be neurodivergent. And if you're not neurodivergent, you're not cool. And, there's that aspect
Like the
of it.
neurodivergent supremacy.
Supremacy, yes, exactly. And I think
It's like flipped, right?
Yeah.
Flip.
There are a couple of people who are self-diagnosed and they're very proud online. I'm a self-diagnosed ADHD, and then they're like, "Oh, I must be having ADHD because I can't focus." No, bitch, you have no focus. Shut up and do your work.
Okay, but self-diagnosis is valid though.
Yeah, it is valid. It is valid, but some people don't even do that. Some people just like, I think I should get diagnosed. I know I'm ADHD.
You say it to get out of something.
That you're
For
not
example, like
that you're not doing your work on time. You're just procrastinating and you're blaming it on ADHD.
not to like put any words in anyone's mouths. It's just I can see where you're coming from, but that's where it becomes a hard place to look at because, like you said, self-diagnosis is valid.
Yep. Because the cost to get diagnosis is really high.
Yes. And then on the flip side of it, it's, people, because that's when you self-diagnose, there is an avenue for people to take advantage of that for their own benefits. Not to say it's for anything that everyone's going to do that, but some people can say, I think depression is one of the clear go-tos. Where is my money? Where is this? Sorry, I have depression. I cannot deal with you at this point in time.
Sounds very familiar.
Sorry, I don't mean to like come across as this or that. I'm just trying to say that, like you said, it's very expensive to self-diagnose.
And it also takes a lot of time.
It takes a lot of time.
Especially
But the
in
problem
government.
is, like we said just now, like how when women came out and spoke about with this Me Too movement, right? Of course, it's a valid movement. It's important to support. And then there are also some people who took advantage of that, So what happened at the end of the day, the power of the movement just sort of started dropping because, there are people taking advantage. Similarly, with this whole self-diagnosed or coming out of ADHD, I think a lot of people with real neurodivergent conditions, they came out and they speak so that there is to create the inclusivity, so to create the space that if you're neurodivergent, it's okay, you can still exist like how everybody else exists. But then the problem with a lot more people taking advantage of it is that you make the rest of us feel like, oh, just shut up.
Here's a question: like when
I disagree. I mean, I don't. I'm okay. I'm sensing that I'm uncomfortable with that point because it does perpetuate ableism in a way. Because I think you need to see it as in a larger picture on how beneficial access of information is and how beneficial people are understanding themselves also in a way. Yeah. But I mean, yeah.
I think it's also like when I was speaking to my therapist about the diagnosis, he actually said most of the time, because I was quite worried that the diagnosis was late. And he said most of the time you already know what you have. So I think that's going to Ching's point about regarding the self-diagnosis. Like everybody already knows, kind of knows what you have. It's just that we need the extra push to it's called this. This is what it comes with. It's always very tough. But I like to say, I don't know Ching about you, but I like to see live and let live also. That's like a and how a person wants to be referred to is up to them at the end of the day. But I also see Sid's point of view following on from mine, where it's become a whole thing, cool thing to be neurodivergent, and it's not so much. It's losing its meaning a little bit in terms of like ADHD, like what you said, Kai, like, I forgot something, I've got ADHD, and so it loses its meaning a little bit with that. But again, there's two schools of thought, I guess. One is is what Ching is saying. One is what Sid, what. So it's a very difficult.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because I was going to ask you guys, like, how do you determine? Because obviously, if you ask like myself or a lot of people I know, like self-diagnosis, it's like a very new area because normally you want to know something, you get an expert, they tell you bada bada bada. But like you said, with things, this area that people might not be so knowledgeable about, and there's not a lot of resources you can go to. or have the resources to actually find out for yourself, because it's like you said, it's expensive. So how, when somebody says, oh, I have, for example, ADHD, on one hand, it's like, okay, I accept that, fair enough. But say they self-diagnose themselves as ADHD. Not to say that it's not valid or anything, but how can you ascertain like, oh, that's fair, that's a total truth what you're saying, and to like what extent? I guess a better way to frame this question is, if someone claims I have X, fair enough, but then is there a point where I'm trying to find
Yeah,
my
I know,
words.
I think I know what you
Yeah.
mean. For me, it's the difficulty with explaining that I have ADHD is that I always feel I have to say that I'm on medication as well, so that people take it seriously, that I actually do have ADHD and I'm not just,
Saying
I
it to sound
saying
see.
I've
cool.
got ADHD. So I always feel I have to validate.
Which is also a bad thing as
Thing,
well,
yes,
because
Because I feel like people's medical condition or disability is a personal
Private.
thing. It's private. Yeah.
Mm.
So you don't go around asking people in a wheelchair,
of course.
Yeah.
what happened to you? That is so not right, or
No.
morally, ethically, and like, yeah. So it's the same thing for me. Like someone says they ADHD or autistic, like, okay, yeah, I have to accept that. Yeah.
I
If you want to
agree
talk more, then yeah, maybe talk to the person if you want support or yeah.
I agree with Ching on this in terms of like questioning someone regarding what they have is inappropriate already. So asking, there's a difference between questioning you. Do you have ADHD? What do you have? What do you take?
Are you sure? Yeah.
Or are you sure? That's a horrible thing
Oh
to
god,
say.
that's terrible. Like, are you really sure you
Are
have
you
this?
sure?
Yeah.
I can
And
imagine. Oh,
I think there's a difference between questioning someone that way and asking questions. So asking to understand as opposed to asking to question them and
right.
yeah. So it's
I guess the
I
intent is
agree.
important. Of like, if you have something like, oh, I noticed this. Here's the thing. Like, how do you engage a conversation where it's not grilling or questioning? Because like, you imagine like I don't know. For some reason, it's an annoying Chinese auntie like, are you sure? What is wrong with you?
Bitch, are
like,
you sure?
yeah.
You ask her back.
So how do you
Correct it.
obviously you don't go around asking people like this and that, but what is like a acceptable way to inquire or just to check in? Is there one, or is just like
There
let
is
it
with
live?
that person. But I maybe just an example earlier, Ching and I were having a conversation and I asked Ching, what would you like us to do should you have tics? What is a good response for us? Would you like us to acknowledge or would you like us to ignore? And then Ching had a response to that. And I think that is a very Ching, I'll leave it to you to tell me if it was respectful or not.
It was respectful.
But, okay.
Yeah. So I guess things, because I think she's framing it in a way that she wants to support, right? And I think that question maybe, I don't know where your framing is. Maybe is it from wanting to know?
It's from a place of wanting to know is one of it, but also knowing how to engage in a respectful way with that sort of that person.
I think it varies person to person, even person to person, how they identify whether it's disabled person or person with disability is also different. Yeah. So those kind of questions, I think you can ask. Yeah.
I think it's like I know, for example, a lot of communities like being called different things. So in terms of orang kurang upaya, there's a school of thought that it means in English the less fortunate. So they think what makes them less fortunate. So we don't like the term orang kurang upaya. But there's also a school of thought where the acronym OKU is a very powerful acronym to use to describe. So I guess it would be asking, would you prefer us to refer to you as, which term do you prefer to be? Because everybody likes I mean, prefer something different. It means something different to everybody. So I think in that sense, in a bigger sense
Yeah.
as well, it really is up to the person.
I think it's also because, like, the one who has no knowledge about it, and then you want to be respectful. And you want to engage in a conversation very sensitively, but the thing is, you don't know, you don't have the language for it.
Yes.
Then you,
We're not taught
what
the
happens is
language.
that you start to tiptoe around around the conversation. You don't address the issue because you're like, okay, now if I'm going to say something, is it going to come off as offensive?
Yes.
And then everyone feels awkward.
Everyone feels awkward. So
Yes.
what you do is that you avoid the elephant in the room, which is not a great thing.
No.
Yes,
you know.
I mean, so who is it? Yeah, to your question earlier, when we spoke, like, remember how I said some people in a group, like, oh, they just try to ignore it, like
Yeah.
ignore my tics, like, and then padahal inside they like, oh fuck, that is funny, and or like, but then they're like, la 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 la.
You see the face go like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I myself would be like, there's this wall. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Did you have to, like, sorry, Ching, I have a question.
Yeah.
go for it.
Did you have to, like, cover it with laughter? So that they would, it's almost like you are being forced to make them feel comfortable.
I just like recently realized this, like throughout my school, I did that. Like it's a coping mechanism
Right.
as to laugh at my bullies and then I become friends with my bullies. Yeah. So then the bully doesn't become worse, or like it's a very subconscious thing I did, which I'm realizing now that, oh yeah, I was just laughing at ha ha ha, like ha ha ha. I'm funny. I am, yeah, whatever.
I'm silly. Actually,
Yes,
even
I am silly, yes.
Like for me, I had the same exact understanding of myself as well. So in every group of friends, I'm always the joker, or the one that cracks jokes, or the one that people laugh at. The one who's okay to be silly and ugly and funny, and
Like there's a lot of self-depreciation.
yes,
Self-deprecation, right? All
Yes,
that.
Is that how you
correct.
pronounce it?
Yes,
Okay,
self-deprecation.
okay.
Yes.
Self-deprecation. Yeah. So there's so much, but then it became very comfortable for me to be that, like a joker, and then I would get complimented on it, and then I would get asked to do a lot of comedy shows.
Then she runs a
Turning,
center.
turning my jokerness
That's how I
into
make
a
money.
money-making machine.
I need
Which
to
one?
watch you then. Stand up. Do you do stand up?
I did do stand-up. I did. So a lot of, and I think I also like almost convinced myself that that's all I could do. So I did a lot of funny, like comedy, stand-up comedy, improv comedy, comedy in general, very big, funny.
It's great.
guys
It's great.
should.
We did a comedy show together. We won so many awards for
Yes.
that.
Already?
So, yeah.
What show was
We
this?
did Short and Sweet.
Oh, okay.
Last year. Yeah.
That
The
was
one
fun.
okay.
You came,
Yeah, I can watch.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, she was very funny.
So
Oh.
yeah, I guess we're always put in that position where we're the jokers, or the one that, and then where people start to take us less seriously, and then we start to take ourselves less seriously, and then there's that.
So it's a rabbit hole that you
Yes.
kind of dig yourself
Yeah.
into. Okay.
I think in terms on how to start the conversation, at least for me, how I see it is that there is no single textbook answer to this. You cannot be like, oh, this is how I'm going to approach. I
No,
think
exactly.
everybody has different way, because I know there are some people who are okay, who wants to be referred as differently able people.
Yes,
I know
And
that.
there are
I
also
know
some
that.
group of people who hates that
that
word.
term. Yes,
you know?
you're right.
So and then you're thinking, what am I going to do? Am I going to use differently able people, or am I going to use disabled people? Then there are multiple terms. There's only one way for you to find out is to speak to that
To
person,
ask,
to
yeah.
ask that person.
Yes.
You cannot. Yeah, this is something initially I used to be like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just not going to speak. But I don't think so that covers the issue. I don't think so that addresses the
No.
problem. The only way is that just ask her, how would you like to be addressed? If it's too difficult for you to address them the way they want to, then get out. Don't be there. Because respecting whatever you have gone through, and you want to be referred to a certain way,
Ayo!
you should be respected and given the credit. And if you want to be called as differently able person, sure, why not? If I respect you enough, I would do that. but they
What if
can
you
never.
don't respect?
If I don't respect you, then I'm like, fuck off. No.
He'll treat you like any other fucker that exists.
No,
in
no.
the
Actually,
world.
there was this one person who is, neurodivergent, but he was a shitty ass person, so I never respected him. Yeah, so it's this shitty ass person and doesn't give you a license. No, he was an harasser.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, he was a harasser, so he deserves.
Let's
Not
not
cool.
go
Don't
there.
harass
Yeah, he
people.
deserves my disrespect.
Fair enough.
That's not cool. I really have this one question. This is something that's been going on in my mind since many, many years ago. I think 2016 or 17.
Wow, it's haunted you all this time.
Yeah, haunted me
Sid.
all this time.
Wow.
Back in 2016 and 17, I watched a Hindi film. It was an indie production, Hindi language. It's the film is called Margarita with a Straw. Now, the film talks about this girl with a neurodivergent condition, and she moves. She lived with she's on a wheelchair as well, and then she lived with her mother all her life, and then there's one point where she has to go for higher education, and she moves to another country, and that's where she makes friends, she fall in love, and then there will be a scene where she'll have sex. Up to that point, I watched that movie. It never occurred to my mind that, oh my God, people with neurodivergent condition are also people who have feelings and who wants to have sex, who have sexual desire. Because what happens is that the moment you put people in a box saying they are abnormal or they are disabled, you completely shut off the brain. You consider them as asexual. You know, you don't see a need of partner for them. You don't see a need of intimacy for them when that's a real thing.
Right.
So that movie sort of put a thought in my head. I'm like, no, everybody needs, most people need intimacy regardless of their neurodivergent condition. If they have ADHD or not, if they want it, they want it. You know, if they have the desire, they have the desire. So are there any misconception like this surrounds?
Definitely. It's very,
Always.
because
It's
PWDs,
taboo.
are very infantilized. Infantilized in the sense that, you don't know what you need. Or so I give you what you need. I know what's best for you. You don't need sex. You don't need this. But then, this gives up a lot of issues on. This affects your mental health, and that's why a lot of PWs are more prone to mental health conditions. Also, yeah. So it's the idea of infantilizing you. Yeah, it's the issue.
Treating them as
A child, forever a child.
forever a child. I have an example of something that happened to me, but I'm not going to name names, obviously, and no one will know who I'm speaking about. There was this boy, he's about 21, he's autistic, and I was sitting in a circle. Everybody in this class was autistic. And halfway through, he just had an urge. He stood up, pulled down his pants, and then he started touching his private parts. And very common in Malaysia, if I were a teacher, to just go pull up your pants. Don't do that. Very easy to do that. But in that moment, I knew, okay, this is a teaching moment. I can't, I need to do this properly because what he's doing is not wrong. But what is wrong is that he's doing it in public. So I pulled him aside and took him to the bathroom, and explained, this is what happens. And what you are doing is not wrong. Because the moment I say what you're doing is wrong, there is going to be that I don't understand why. Because why am I different?
This way,
my body is
I'm
exactly.
not allowed to do this.
I'm not allowed to do this. Why are they telling me I can't do this? So there is a way to do it. You go to the bathroom, you explain, okay, I understand you need to do this, and I will let you be here in the bathroom to do it and finish. But you are not allowed to do this in public. This is not acceptable to be done in front of your friends. And I said, you can only do it when you are alone. So that I felt like was quite a big moment for me, because I think I could have gone either way as a teacher. I could have become, pull up your pants, don't do that ever again. And that be it. And he be confused and he not understand, or I could go the other direction. And I think sex education should not be taboo in this country. I can't say it enough.
For anyone.
For anyone.
Yeah.
And I think even in the US, Ching, you might have seen this, but they have pamphlets for adults with Down syndrome on how to do it correctly, because it's not just, hey, you're just having sex and this is great. It's more than that. It's prevention of abuse.
Yeah.
It's, knowing that when
Safety,
you touch
I
me,
can
it's
imagine.
not correct.
Yeah.
This is not how you do it. This is not comfortable for me. How do you say no? Things like that are so important, and it's being taught in the US. In the UK, they have a pamphlet that they give out, and they actually sit them down and teach them that this is the right way to treat a woman, and you don't just go up and touch, and it prevents all of that, because we've got cases in Malaysia where that happens, where they touch someone without consent, and because not their fault, they're not taught that you can't do that unless you've got consent for it. So it's all under sex education, and I think it's taboo because people think what we're trying to teach them is how to have good sex, and that's not what we're trying to. I think
also just to add, PWDs are a lot more prone to get I find my words, to be abused, sexually abused. Yeah.
Sorry, PWD is?
Persons with disability.
Oh, okay, PW. Okay.
PWD.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
PWDs.
Yeah, I think also just to clarify, PWD does not fall under neurodivergent. So it doesn't, right?
You can be neurodivergent and disabled.
And both.
So it does. So I mean, you can be neurodivergent and not disabled, but you can be both.
You can be both, yes. But neurodiversity, I suppose, represent what happens in the brain.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can have both. Yes, exactly what Ching is saying. Yes.
Thanks for, by the way, being so patient to explain to us
explain
what
to
these
us,
things are, because this is stuff that none
You
of
never
us
thought
really
about it.
learn.
I also need to backtrack. Deaf
Sure.
mute is not an acceptable term
Oh, okay.
anymore.
Oh.
I don't know what the acceptable term is. Do you know?
It was, Ching. I thought hard of hearing and all is not the right term.
I mean, specifically
Is
deaf
it?
mute.
Deaf.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna Google. I'm just bringing.
So
this
basically, just Google it before you say anything.
Yeah.
All right, just be safe. But
Ching
I
and
guess
I will
it's-
Google.
I
and
guess
then we'll
the-
tell
No,
you.
I guess I know I mean we sound like we're this is not right,
No,
but
not at
because
all.
language itself also has there's power.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
language is a power, and it's evolving, and
Yes.
it's always important to just check it. Sometimes I'll say deaf mute because I don't know
yeah.
what the updated term is or
Yeah.
what the consensus is, but I think it's a dialogue, right? So
Yeah.
we'll say something, and
Did you
it's
find
just to
No, there are multiple. The preferred terms deaf or deaf and hard of hearing,
okay.
non-speaking.
Non-speaking. Yes.
Non-speaking. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it's the non-speaking community.
non-speaking.
Okay.
But I guess that is also again has to be a person to person law.
Yes.
Like how people would if they prefer to be I mean it's the same thing like if somebody wants to be called as Dato Sri or Tan Sri or Puan Sri, if the person wants to be called as YB, you still do it just because money is involved. Then why can't you ask someone who has the condition and you ask them how do you want to be referred to, right?
Yeah.
So basically, what you're saying is these communities need to be super wealthy
Yeah.
to dictate what they're being
listen,
told.
I'm sure if
That
there
is
were money
true.
involved,
Money involved
if
means
there were
like simple life.
if there were money
I mean,
involved,
simple
I'll
life,
call
like
you.
maybe.
Because there's Dato Sri has like 17,000 spellings to it.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
DATUK, there's DATO, there's TATO with apostrophe, but you follow everything. What?
SDRI, SRI.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
for money, you do everything. Why don't you do this as well? Now, you both teach. You're educators. How is that experience like?
It's all
How
good.
is that experience like?
Okay, I my
You.
my education degree, my degree, is in theatre and then in special needs education. So the space that I work in is inclusive, and it's fully inclusive. It's about 50-50 in terms of how many students that are neurodivergent and how many that are neurotypical.
How large is a typical class, if you don't mind me asking?
Okay, this is a huge problem. Thank you for asking. Nobody wants to join Hush. No parent wants to send their child to Hush because of my neurodivergent children community. So it's a huge,
I'm so sorry. Let me clarify.
yeah,
Parents with kids who doesn't have neurodivergent
yep,
condi-
neurotypical.
neuro neurotypical.
Neurotypical is without,
Oh,
yeah.
neurotypical.
And
Oh, okay.
neurodivergent.
So
That's a new-
neurodivergent, neurotypical.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Got it.
You should.
Yeah.
Should have
If
started with
only I
that.
know. Yeah, I should have started with that. Would have saved a lot of my time.
How do I
It's okay.
call?
I'll edit here and there from the beginning of the episode. So now parents with kids who are neurotypical refuses to send their kids because you have neurodivergent kids in your class.
And
They say that.
They say that, and some of them say, "Oh, is that child autistic?" Because last time I sent my child to a different school, and he got beat up by an autistic kid. So I don't want to send. Sorry. And my answer to that always is, instead of keeping you, I'm keeping him, keeping my child who's autistic. So it's okay for you not to want to be a part of this, but I choose
Yeah.
my kid rather than, and there are a lot of centers that drama centers, right, Ching, where they don't want to accept those with autism and all that, because these are the comments they'll get, and they'll make much less money. So if I were to open a theater school that is not inclusive, I would have a lot of money. I like nobody, and the reason I opened it was not for that. It was to give space to the neurodivergent community, and I will keep fighting for that. But I also have wonderful parents of neurotypical children who send their kids because they realize how important it is to surround themselves with other children who are neurodivergent, so that when they grow up, they work,
It's
they
just like
hire someone who's neurodivergent.
Yeah, it's
They
just
don't
diversity.
question.
this is a
diversity.
person. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
and I always say that is the point of the inclusive education. And I tell them the point is not to send your neurotypical child to necessarily just learn drama. It is to learn how to cooperate with everyone in the class
Yeah.
who have different abilities and different ways of learning. And it's actually proved to be really a really great thing, because I have neurotypical kids. This wonderful class I teach every Saturdays. They're so great. They're half neurotypical, half neurodivergent. And what happens is, very naturally, the neurotypical children start to look after the ones who are neurodivergent. So you can see them immediately if the one student who has Down syndrome is about to fall off maybe the stage box, they will run to grab and make sure they're okay. The other day I saw something really lovely. When I turned my back and I turned back again, a girl with Down syndrome had her necklace the other way, and the neurotypical student actually came and was fixing it for her, and she was like, "Hey, are you okay? Is everything all right?" And it's also teaching them not the baby, what's the word?
Oh,
Coddling.
the coddling, the
Yeah,
babying
the
of the
babying
person.
of the person is to stop that immediately. It's this, you respect this person the same way they're going to respect you as well. So I always keep that in mind. When I see them helping, I always make sure don't cross the line to where you're babying and
yeah,
this is a child.
infantilizing.
That's the exact word. So it is not an easy class to teach, but it's also one of the most wonderful things you'll see. And they will grow up to own companies, and where they will celebrate neurodiversity easily without us having to tell them, without us having to force it. It's just going to be a better world. Truly, I know that sounds really cheesy to say,
Yeah.
but
No.
it is,
No,
it's
absolutely. I mean, even if they don't open companies, they'll be able to work in some companies
Yes.
and be able to just treat this other person like a normal human being,
Yeah.
or with respect and whatnot.
No, but
Absolutely.
like whatever you're doing is great in the sense. I mean, as much as it sounds cheesy, like what I was saying, you don't even include someone in your family, who is neurodivergent, right? So kids who are neurotypical, who grew up in your class, if there's a boy or a girl, if there's anybody in their family who grew up to be in a way, so they know it's not weird for them.
Yes,
It's
that's
not
right.
awkward for them. This is not an alien who is just doing something there. They are very used to the idea that, hey, this is normal. I've learned in my class. Yeah, I think you're
Exactly.
creating something that is very balanced, I suppose, which is needed, I guess.
I think there's it's not difficult to make places inclusive. It's not
Yeah.
right, Ching?
So recently, because I guess I just spoke about my journey of dismantling my internalized ableism, blah blah blah. So I've paused in making my own theatre works, but have put in energy and effort to this recent program called Theatre Untuk Semua.
Yay!
So you're running it.
Such a good.
Yes, so it's actually a research documentation project for more accessible theatre training programs. So so we just ran our 12-week program, and we had 12 persons with disabilities from cross disabilities. So we had people who were blind in a wheelchair, autistic, deaf persons as well. Yeah, so we were all it was a mixed bunch, and then from there we actually created a role called creative support persons, who were made up of experienced theatre makers, non-disabled experienced theatre makers, to be that buddy system, the peer support for the PWDs participants. Yeah, and the idea is that yes, they can learn from one another, and also bring more awareness to our theatre makers who are non-disabled, to have more to grow these lenses of we need more inclusive spaces, and why this needs to be done, and blah blah blah. Yeah, because I think in education wise, I also began to shift because of my journey on looking at theatre or theatre practicing in terms of a whole person lens, instead of so moving away of what an actor should look like or sound like or move like, because I think there's a preconceived idea of what makes a great actor aesthetically.
Sure.
Yeah. So then theatre semua, we all wanted to redefine what is valuable in terms of theatre or performance or an actor, and so we wanted to what is this
Lift?
Uplift or
maybe embrace.
embrace?
We say
Okay.
embrace, disability.
Include. all
Yeah,
that stuff.
disability aesthetics, to integrate disability aesthetics. So things like maybe having tics perhaps on stage, or using assistive devices, or needing to hold something on stage would usually in traditional theatre maybe people would see that as a hindrance to your character, or like it doesn't fit your character, but like instead we want to bring that in, because that's part of you as a person, and that makes you, and from there grow and expand, and what else can you do as because I mean if Kai plays a character, no, why am I saying, if Charanya plays a character, let's say Sophia, who is a 30-year-old, I don't know, salesperson, and I play her, it will be two different
Yes, it'll be very two different things.
So we wanted to make it known that disabled people can play this character too in their own way.
Right.
Like who said Romeo and Juliet cannot be disabled?
Right. Fair enough. You always get the other side, right, where you have a neurotypical actor
Yes.
who will play the neurodivergent character, right?
It's terrible.
And sometimes it's terrible, but then people go like, "Oh my god, that was amazing,"
Yeah.
you know.
Wow, good job.
And to people who don't know any better, who see and observe people or have an idea of what that person with what they have, they go, "Oh yeah, that's believable enough for me," and it's like.
And sometimes they play in the stereotypes.
Yes.
Since we're talking about things like access and things like that,
Lancau
what do you
lagi.
think is the
No.
one area that needs more access? Like, is it education related? Is it just
I
like
think it's
public?
physical. Everything but the physical, right, Ching? Like, for example,
Even physical disability here is pretty bad compared to a lot of other
mean the
places.
access?
Like,
The
yeah,
access
I mean that's
is-
one you see a lot. Like, here's an elevator, thank
And
you,
it's-
but that's it.
it's ridiculous as well if we're talking about this. There's a place right next to Hush.
Hashi.
And It's so cute.
That's your tagline.
That's the tag. I was just saying,
That should be a
tagline.
tagline.
that's that.
Hashi Hashi. Right next to it is I'm not sure, but officers, and they have a disabled toilet.
okay.
Inside, okay, so I thought, hey, that's great, fantastic. But right outside that is a huge ledge and no ramp. So please explain to me how someone in a wheelchair is going to get
Yeah.
up that step
my
and go
God.
into the disabled toilet.
I think the key thing
How
is
could you do that,
they
Ching,
have
you
to
know?
get up from the wheelchair, carry it up, and then put
Yeah,
it down,
and
and then sit
then-
back in it and go.
Yeah, and then go exactly.
The only way.
That's what they thought. You're right.
It's just like not thinking things through, you know, as simple as that. Like, oh, okay, here I'm trying to be inclusive. Great, stamp a picture of someone in a wheelchair on the door, and I'm good to go.
Is
But
there
did
a
you
word
think?
like something pink, like the pink washing? Is there a word for this kind
Oh,
of?
so I mean, like, so instead of whitewashing,
Whitewashing.
it's like
Yeah.
a wheel washing.
This-
No,
Able washing.
able washing. It was staring at us right in the face.
Yeah.
Able washing.
Able washing. I actually wrote
Thank you,
a letter
ChatGPT.
to them
Awesome.
saying, but nothing was done.
Nothing
Of course
else
not.
done.
I wrote two letters actually.
Maybe you should refer yourself as Dato Sri. And
Yeah.
maybe
They'll
change.
be like, oh, we've given them a toilet. What else they're complaining about? You know?
there you go.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah, yeah.
Okay, wait. There's 2 points in my head right now.
Okay, sure, go with them.
Fuck. Better not forget it.
It's okay.
Okay, the first thing is I think access. There are a lot of different dimensions to access. When
Yes,
we
there
say
are.
Space. There's physical. There's like social,
Yep.
attitudinal access. Which, yeah, and then environmental access, technology access. Yeah. So this and communication access. That's very important. Yeah. The second part is so a lot of us, I think we were having a conversation earlier. You were saying that a lot of people are saying like, yeah, it's inclusive, and you were saying that what you were saying is thrown around.
It's thrown
It's
around.
thrown around,
Yeah,
yes.
like
Yeah.
oh, we
Yeah.
are inclusive when you're not, and you know
Yeah.
you're not fully.
So for what I have learned is that there's a difference between inclusion and integration.
Okay.
So integration is when come in but like we don't really make a change or adapt for you. So you just come in. Like perhaps my whole past career of being in theater, like I adapt to you, right? That's how that's how I'm seeing it right now. But inclusion is when the system actually supports you and adapts to accommodate you. Yeah. So it's the other way.
Would you say both are lacking severely?
I mean, there are more integration, but they call themselves
Inclusive.
inclusive.
Yeah.
I see.
I guess an example of an inclusive, I don't know, you can tell me if you think it is inclusive, but in a drama class at Hush, for example, I've got students with ADHD. So what I do is, and this is something that all my kids enjoy, whatever, if they have autism or anything. But with kids specifically who have ADHD, they tend to lose focus and they need to move their bodies. So I get in my class, it's structured in a way where it's 5 minutes, okay, a focused activity, whatever. The next 5 minutes, everybody runs around the space and I give them like 20 seconds. Okay, run. And I want you to do it as fast as you can. And then we add like little games in between and jump and this and that. You know, so that's an accommodation for those kids who have ADHD and it's also enjoyed by those who don't. So I think it's being creative, right?
Yeah,
As a teacher, I'm accommodating to those with ADHD whilst not shaming them, whilst also making it an activity that everybody can do and everybody will like, everybody will enjoy. So that has become like my part of my lesson plan, I guess. And I think that's a point that Ching was trying to make is that it is inclusive to those with ADHD and without and others, as opposed to it just being come in, you have ADHD, but then ignore, push to the side.
Right.
I don't, that happens a lot, by the way. I've been in many schools where that has happened, where they take in the child, right, with Down syndrome or autism, and then they claim they're inclusive, but then the child is pushed to the side and
And then they
ignored.
just take the money.
Yes,
Ooh.
that's right.
And sometimes instead of pushing aside, you force the child to like follow this,
Follow.
follow this, follow. And then
Exactly.
you're gonna be marah like, hey, why you not focus? Why you not focus?
Correct.
Focus, focus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh gosh.
Exactly.
Not the right tools.
Not the right. Not the right tools.
Now I have this question. What is both your sentiment about this? Now, I remember watching an interview
Are you remember?
of an actress a couple of years ago, where
Monkey
she
slap.
was being asked question about. She was doing this movie. There was no male lead in the film. She was she's a female lead, only female lead in the film, and then the film was regarded as women-centric film. So that's what they do when a woman is playing the lead. They call it women-centric film. So she was not really happy with that. She's like, if the guy is playing the lead, you don't call it male-centric film. You just call it a film, an action film, comedy film, whatever. So why is it when a woman doing a lead film, then you have to specify it that way? Why can't a film be film? Like similarly how you don't have to refer to them as male pilot or female pilot, because female pilot is not flying the plane upside down, right?
Or female soldiers.
Or female soldiers. They are doing the work as it is. So when it comes to, now the question of neurodivergent and neurotypical, right? So what is your sentiment with putting the name to it? Like, let's say you're putting up a show, or let's say you're putting up something and you're making it, this is neurodivergent show, this is made by people who are neurodivergent, not neurotypical. What is your sentiment? Because some people feel like there's a power in naming it, means you give more power to the community. But some people feel like the moment you name it, you separate them from the community.
You create a divide,
You
right?
create a divide. So what is your personal sentiments when it comes to that?
I'm with the naming boat. Because I see that is the next step. Because there's not enough awareness, or there's not enough action, positive action, affirmative action yet to be able to be like, oh, I don't need to name it, and people should be able. Yes, that's like maybe perhaps the goal, but we have to start somewhere, I guess. So the naming it is a little bit political, I feel.
I think I agree with that actually, because even as a woman, I think I'm very proud to say
Woman slap.
if my
Oh my god.
We'll cut that out.
no, keep it.
Good. Accept it. Embrace it. Embrace it.
But even as a woman, I would prefer to say that my plane was flown by a female pilot, only because I like same sentiment. I think it's still something that needs to be, because if I were to say pilot, everyone's automatically going to think male.
Typically, yes.
Typically, So I still feel power in saying, I think this is just me, maybe some people might totally disagree with that, but I feel there's power in stating that, female pilot or female this, female that. So I think I have the same sentiment when it comes to the neurodivergent community, because no one is fully aware of what
No,
it is.
people are not.
Yeah.
So until we get a
Like you,
equitable
yeah.
like
plane.
I don't think you even get to a place where you can divide yourselves up with because there's no name really in the why. You know what I mean? Like you're not even. You can't even be at the stage.
She was ready to fight.
No.
What do you mean?
No, I'm like, what?
But in the larger context of because there's such a lack of awareness, people can't even because people like to compartmentalize. Like you can do that amongst your own community, but the wider public's like, what do you mean? You're all
You're
neurodivergent. What are you talking about?
You're all disabled.
So they don't. Yeah.
But that's what happens in education. Every
Yes.
PWD is just clumped
same.
together.
Everyone is
in one,
clumped
and
together.
Then how you access the education is also just one way. But the whole there are different needs.
I remember there was this one neurodivergent friendly school in Penang where they don't have neurotypical kids in that school. So of course you have kids of different ages, of different neurodivergent condition. And then they were doing a play for a year-end play, and I have to take a video of the whole play, of the concert. Half a day there, I was like, I don't know how you guys do it. It's very difficult to sort of get their attention, to speak to them and to teach them and to feed them. People who teach kids with at schools like this deserve to go to heaven.
They actually
Yeah.
feed my ADHD brain. So children
It
with
works.
different personalities, that excites me so much. Like if everybody had the same standard personality and I had to teach in a government setting classroom, I think I'd just die.
Hunker
Like
down
that
and
would
studying,
be,
that
yeah,
kind of mentality.
like that
Do the
would,
workshop.
no, that I cannot be that kind of teacher, and that would really kill me. But I love this so much because it's just different. Someone says something different, and then my attention goes there, then here, then there, then, and it
Works.
really feeds my own personality and my
It's a
ADHD.
camp.
Yeah, it's like it works both ways. Yeah.
I see.
No, but how do you see? My question is where is like how important in arts education in all of this? Because of course both of you have been teaching drama and stuff. People don't
Movement,
I mean,
etc.,
we are looking at Malaysian setting, right? Parents don't like arts classes even for the neurotypical kids.
I think that's changing though. It really is changing. Yes.
Um,
I have a lot of Chinese friends and people know who are Chinese. Before drama was like a don't even touch it. Now they're like, I want to, instead of just going the standard route of, oh, let's do violin and piano classes, like, no, I want to send them to a drama class.
No, but I think if you're speaking, okay, community based, right? I think Chinese community are a lot more accepting to arts compared to the Indian ones.
Oh, okay. I guess yes, it depends on what
There's a
communities
lot
we're
more
looking
to
at.
that,
That's fair. That's fair.
Because then that there's a Chinese boy who can play violin so well and piano so well, and that if that conversation were to happen in Indian family, they're like, why are you playing music? You're wasting your time.
I
So
see.
I think that could be a thing as well.
That could be a thing.
You
But
know?
I do think in some communities,
Yeah,
it
it's
is-
changing. It's definitely
shifting.
changing. It's not what it used to be, but baby step lah. I don't think so. We are there yet. We're fully accepting to arts. It's definitely changing with time because today parents realize that TikTokers can have a real career as influencers. So they're like, go and make your music. It's fine.
Anyone can,
Yeah,
yeah.
the lawyer's not getting paid,
That's
but the
true.
TikTokers getting paid more. Maybe that's why
The
it's
lawyer who is a
changing.
TikToker is getting paid
Getting
more
paid
than, the
more.
lawyer, than being a lawyer.
That's true. No, just coming back to the question. So now you have neurodivergent kids where the parents' immediate thought process wouldn't be like, let's send them to art school or drama school because they'd be like, how my kids will function in this class where they have to work with others, How would you advocate for this for parents to send, and why would you do so?
100%. It increases confidence. I always tell this to my kids' parents. I'm not teaching your kids theater so they grow up to become actors. I'm teaching them theater so they grow up to be confident. They grow up to be able to say their thoughts clearly, clarity of speech, projection. You might have to give a speech. You probably will need to. And it just pushes them in that correct direction. The arts is so, if we're talking about theater specifically, it's so important in that regard. I've got so many students who are actually like 18 and stuff who are just incredibly, almost painfully shy and are only being sent to me now for public speaking classes. And it's difficult because you're 18. It's difficult to instill that because you kind of have your things that you don't like already, It's
Yeah.
hard to change that. And so I think it's really important to send them young and increase that confidence.
Yeah, especially as young, they pick things up
Younger,
quick, right? So
yes. So important. And it's so accessible to everybody. So, maybe not all centers, but the subject itself is so accessible.
Right.
You're speaking of all arts, right? Like, allows for so
Because
much.
a general idea is that people think that for you to be in arts, you should have some sort of discipline. You should have some sort of focus. And it's like focus are the thing that is subjective when it comes to kids with neurodivergent kids, right? Like sometimes they don't have the focus. So
Yeah.
it's very difficult to get them to focus. Then the parents would be having this question, if I'm going to send him to a piano class, how is he going to focus? Is it even going to work for him? If I'm going to send him to theater class, will he be able to remember a line? Because they are looking at how typically those classes will function. For a neurotypical kid, and how that will be adapted for the neurodivergent kid. So that's why I'm asking this question.
Oh my God! Before I need to before I move on, I need to go back.
Yeah.
Because I just circle back to when the framing of things of how teachers who teach neurodivergent kids or PWD should go to heaven, and like a lot of appreciation for that. Yes, I mean there should be appreciation for that, but also just want to for us to be careful that we don't frame PWD kids or neurodivergent kids as difficult. Yeah, because it reinforces the idea that difficult. Yeah, you understand that, but also if there's a system to train teachers and educators to do that, to normalize teaching kids with PWD and ND, I think there it would be there wouldn't be an issue.
It would be as normal.
Yeah.
It's not difficult.
Yeah.
It is not. I don't think I've never I get that a lot as well. Like you have a lot of patience and then I struggle with those comments because I'm like, oh, okay, it's quite it's quite easy
It comes
and
to you.
natural. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I do get a comment also, but then I feel like I iffy about it because are you saying the kids are difficult? Because they're not.
Right.
No kid ever wants to be intentionally, I am difficult. I don't want to do this because I want to fuck you up. Oh my god, no kid will say that. I mean, yeah, but so I think we also want to shift this framing of the adults being putting us on pedestal in a sense, but making it like you said, making it more normalizing this this way of teaching. Yeah, because this way of teaching is very different, right? You see this person in front
So
of
what
you
you're
is
saying
a
is
person.
not difficult, it's just different.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's and how you teach is also different. Like we hear Sharanya saying that you see this person and you throw away things you plan, you give to
You
this
adapt
person.
to
You
the
adapt.
situation.
Yeah. And I feel like if all teachers can do that, it's like holy shit, wow. Yeah.
I think
Can
that's a
be done.
skill that needs to be taught though,
Yeah.
because not everyone comes in the picture of that, Sorry, I don't mean to
No, that's why
detract
I
from
said we need that training. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that training is because, like you said, you don't need to have the degree, but you need that training to be able to interact with kids on that level.
And the more you interact with them, the better.
Yeah.
And that goes the double empathy thing. Have you heard of double empathy?
No.
No, I don't think I have.
How do I
Double
say,
empathy?
It's okay, we have
We
ChatGPT
will
for
we will find
everything.
out what double empathy is.
It challenges the assumption that communication breakdowns happen because neurodivergent individuals, they lack understanding of what is happening. But instead, so double empathy emphasizes that communication issue arises because individuals themselves operate from a different framework, different perspective, whether or not you're neurodivergent or neurotypical. Yeah,
Right.
so there's no one better way or correct way.
But they haven't found
That mutual gap of understanding
that
to
bridge.
bridge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just add to
Sure.
Ching's point? I'm just reminded me of something. Is this putting us on pedestals? It goes the same way for the autistic community because it's one or the other. It's okay, this child cannot do anything at all. The other extreme is they put them on a pedestal and they say this child plays the piano brilliantly.
Right, they do that one thing
Yes,
really well.
really well, and
Okay.
they're amazing, and they put them on pedestal. And when they tell stories at dinner parties and things like that, they will say, "Oh, I know this. Yala, autistic people are so incredibly smart. I know this one autistic person who plays the piano very well, and they're like very good at music. They're very," and that's where the stereotypes
It's like that-
build.
and then you perpetuate into families like searching for it.
Exactly.
It's like the
Sometimes.
kid with the
Exactly.
saving
pressure on a
grace,
different-
right?
yeah.
And the only person that suffers the most is the
Child.
person with autism, and being put on a pedestal like that is so horrendous. It's such a horrible thing to do. I mean, to anyone, right?
To anyone,
any of
yeah.
us.
But
Yeah.
I can imagine with a autistic
Yeah.
child itself being lauded, and then it's like, oh god,
And it's this like, you're so good at this, and then they push that one thing that he might just enjoy,
Yeah.
or he or she might.
That off. What is that word? To jump
Jump
off.
off?
I mean,
Yes.
it's not so in the.
it's all good.
It's okay, it's okay. Go for it.
Happens to me all the time.
I guess speaking of misconception or like stereotypes. There's also one that I think this one it's in my notes. Yes, damn it.
Finally, she gets to use that note.
Use those notes.
So it's the idea or notion that neurodivergent condition like autism needs to be fixed. Yeah. Because it's I guess we all live this life based. I mean, our framework on conditions is very much on the medical model framing. Like, oh, you're sick, you get fixed, you go get doctor, take medicine, go therapy. Yeah. Which I guess will hinder the development of the child itself, because then you so there's an approach called neuroaffirming approach where we see as the child as a whole. So it's person-centered, it's child-led. We look at the strengths and then what their interests are. We see this child as a whole person, yes. Because every child has their interests, has their strengths, has their dislikes, has areas that they need to more support in. So when we do it in this way, there's a development of something called joy. Wow, joy and autistic joy. Yeah, where they can be themselves, and from being themselves, they can encourage their confidence and then deeper understanding of themselves, their sense of self, which then allows them to expand into the world a bit more also.
So, thank you so much.
Thanks so
ladies.
much, guys.
Has been really, really wonderful, eye-opening conversation. I think we came in almost zero with with this topic. We had no idea what we were going to ask. We had no idea what we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
But here we are walking out with terms like able washing because we've
Yeah.
learned.
No, seriously, this is
You
the
know?
one
Yeah, yeah.
episode where I didn't bring any prep because I was like, I could ask this, but I just want to hear what you guys have to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
because I don't know what to. I have a couple of general things, but it's like just general, like, oh, let's just get in through there, but nothing to build on until I hear because this is something I actually know very little about.
I think it's something like what Sharanya said earlier like, when we were talking. It's okay to admit if you don't know, when you don't know something, because then by educating yourself, then you know. If you say you don't know anything, stupid fuck. Yeah. Thank you so much for having the patience to explain things one
thank
by
you.
one. Not to put on pedestal, but I think credit should be given. Because I think the fact that you're making, say, Sharanya, you're making your class inclusive, because like you say, you could have gone the other way, by you trying to make it inclusive, where it's not about money, because if you want to make money, then you would have gone the other
Be
way.
milking those gallons.
Yeah, because it's so easy in 2024 to go the other way because money matters, right? But the fact that you are choosing not to do that and you're choosing to be inclusive, not just integration for that reason. And
Bridging
even,
communities.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. And Ching yourself, allowing people to get to know you, to work with you, and not pulling yourself aside and, to create a space that is normal for everyone. I think you've done a great job with that as well, because I have heard a lot about, I've not seen you perform, but I've heard a lot about you. I've heard a lot about Ching everywhere. Ching teaches, Ching does this. I'm like, okay, I mean, that means you must have been doing something really good, right? So I think that's where the credit should be given.
And
so
for
thank
creating
you so
your own
much.
spaces
Yes.
for neurotypical and neurodivergent
Neurodivergent.
people.
Wow, that was really heavy. But it was great. So thank you so much to those of you who've been listening to us or watching this video. It's been a great, great session. Also, it's been a great season. We've had 8 episodes so far. It's been really fun speaking to every single one of the guests, or speaking to each other, actually, mostly.
Yeah, actually.
We've talked about parenting. We talked about men's health. We
Red
talked
flags,
about
we talked about-
It's been a great season. Hopefully we'll come back for the next season or
Yes.
not. I don't know.
We still have a couple more though,
We still have a
so stay
couple
tuned
more.
for those.
Yes. So thank you so much. We will be releasing a new episode when we announce a second season. You can watch the rest of the episode on our YouTube channel, which is KAYPOH, or you can go to Spotify or Apple Podcast to listen to the audio. You can follow us on every other social media page. We are KAYPOH on TikTok, Instagram, X. X.
Yes,
Twitter is X
X.
now. X. Until don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, so that you'll know every time we'll post a video in this channel. We have different shows coming up. Yeah, that's it from me. I'm Siddharth Jodev.
I'm Kai Chalmers.
Bye bye.
Take care.
Wow.
Is this our last episode for this season?
For the season.
Oh,
KAYPOH!